My name is Julie Pearson, Little Thunder. Today is Friday, October 13th, 2017, and I'm interviewing Linda Lomahaftewa for the Oklahoma Native Artist Project, sponsored by the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program at Oklahoma State University. We're at the Institute of American Indian Arts, where Linda, you most recently taught foundational courses in 2D before you retired. Mm-hmm. But you're Choctaw and Hopi, a very well-known painter, printer, educator. I look forward to hearing more about your artwork and your career. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me.
Okay.
Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and I lived in Phoenix till like 6 or 7, and then we moved to California, Southern California, Los Angeles area. My father found work there, so we moved to California. Lived there for 7 years, and then moved back to Arizona, and I started boarding school. Started going to the boarding school in Arizona until my second year in high school, and then IAIA opened up, and I came to Santa Fe.
And we'll talk a little bit about that. I'm anxious to hear. The first year it opened, I think. But in terms of your mom and dad, what did they do for a living?
My mom, she worked for a little bit, but she basically was she stayed at home. Mm-hmm. And her and her sister took care of taking care of their grandfather. So that's why she stayed at home. And then right. my dad, he worked various jobs. He's an auto mechanic, but he did other jobs as well.
And how many brothers and sisters?
I had 3 brothers and 1 sister, and currently I have 1 brother and 1 sister now. Yeah.
What was your relationship with your grandparents on either side of the family?
On either side? Uh-huh. Okay, I knew my Hopi grandparents, and my grandmother passed away first, and then I think that I was about 7 then, and then I can't remember when passed away, but he lived longer. Mm-hmm. And we would see him when we go to Hopi for the ceremonies, and as kids we would stay there for the summer and spend time out there. And then on my Choctaw side, my mother's side, the only grandparent I knew was my mother's grandfather, who was my great grandfather, and he lived to be 100, and he said he was 110. So, but he's pretty old. He's the only one I knew on the Choctaw side.
Wow, cool. And that for intertribal marriages, that kind of Choctaw-Hopi combination, I think, was pretty unusual.
Yeah, they met in boarding school at the Phoenix Indian boarding school, and when Grandpa moved from Oklahoma to Arizona because of his health, he was raising my mom and her sister and brothers, and so he brought them along, and then he was getting, it was kind of too much for him, so he put them in boarding school, and that's how my parents met.
That's how they met.
Yeah.
So in terms of being around the culture and the language, can you talk a little bit separately about Choctaw and then Hopi?
Well, with Grandpa, that's all he could speak was Choctaw. That's the only language he had. So I always enjoyed hearing him, and talk. And, my mother and my aunt could understand too, and they would talk to him in Choctaw. But we only picked up a few words. We only, like hello and how are you, kind of thing, and milk and meat and stuff like that. So
or the important words.
And come and eat.
Yeah, come eat.
So I forgot what the question was.
And then the Hopi around Hopi language and culture.
Yeah, so, you know, when you go out to Hopi, they speak in Hopi. So, again, because neither of my parents could speak Hopi or Choctaw to each other because two different languages, so we were raised speaking English, but we did know those important words that, you know, of Hopi and Choctaw.
So, in terms of the public art that you might have been exposed to in the public school in Arizona, looks like you maybe were there for first grade or first and
Yeah,
second.
kindergarten, first
Do you
grade.
have any memories of?
No, it wasn't until we moved back from California that we started going to the Herd Museum because my dad would sing in a drum group, a Southern Plains drum group, and my mom in the Southern Plains drum group, so the women stand behind the men
Right.
and sing sometimes, so she did that too.
So she was a singer.
Yeah.
So no exposure to art really in the California school system either.
Oh,
Sounds
in
like.
California, yeah.
Okay.
We would go to museums and
In school.
In school,
They would
yeah.
take
They would
on.
take us to museums and we'd see different, you know, the Southwest Museum. Is that?
Yeah, the Autry Museum of the Southwest.
I guess way back it was, yeah,
Called
just
the
a
Southwest
Museum,
or
yeah.
something.
That and, you know, orchestras. The school would take us to that. So that was a good exposure.
So those were good
Yeah.
exposures.
Yeah.
What is your first memory of seeing Native art?
I don't know why I think always of Fred Caboti when I think of Native art right away, because in Arizona and, you know, being Hopi, he illustrated a lot of books, and I always like looking at his illustrations because we're from the same village. So, you know, when I see the pictures of the ceremonies in the plaza, you know, I know right where I sit in the plaza. So it's always good. Those are really memorable to me, seeing his artwork.
Seeing his artwork at a young age. How about your first memory of making art?
My first memory, a lot of kids, you know, they start out by like copying comic books, and so that's what I did, comic books and just drawing in general. And I don't know why I was singled out, but because my, you know, brother and sister did, we all did it, but for some reason I guess I took to it more than they did, so they started calling me the artist of the family. And I was always, you know, trying to make things, and, but I was always painting and drawing. And so for Christmas and birthdays, I would get like art supplies or paint by number kits, things like that.
So your parents were real supportive of.
Yeah, the whole family. Yeah, so they called me the artist of the family.
And is that an identity you took on? Did you think of yourself in that way?
Yeah, and that's what's crazy about it, because so don't quote me on that one, but my whole family, you know, everyone did something. My mom used to bead a long time ago, and of course my dad carves Kachina dolls and paints them, and we all did something.
Yeah.
And like I said, with being in the city, we would go to powwows, and my brothers would dance, and they would, you know, make their outfits and put them together. And my sister used to bead, and so we were all, you know, had some form of art that we did, but they always called me the artist.
Well, they were right about that too. Well, so talk a little bit about how you, you know, you go to California and you're going to school there, and then you come back to or you go back to Phoenix, but you end up at the Institute of American Indian Arts. How did you find out about it?
I was, the first boarding school that we went to was in Holbrook. It was a mission boarding school. And we were there for like half a semester because we had just moved back. So in the fall, we didn't like going to that school. So
I was going to say, can you talk about that a bit? Because, I mean, you're going from California school system to this mission boarding school,
which was really strict. It was run by the Seventh-day Adventists. And we just weren't used to that kind of, that way. So, the following fall, we all went to, my sister, brother, and I went to the Phoenix Indian Boarding School. So it was right there in Phoenix. So.
Did you get any kind of an art base there?
You know, I don't remember any art classes there. It was just regular high school, you know, curriculum and home economics and things like that. But I don't remember any art there. Oh, so I was there for the first semester, the first year, my freshman year. And it was, I think it was in the spring semester that I got a phone call from my mom. And she, when I was at school, and she said, I read in the paper they're gonna open up this Indian art school in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Do you want to go? And I didn't think about, I don't even know where Santa Fe is, but she said, do you want to go? And I said, yes, And so that summer we proceeded to do the paperwork to get me into IIA.
So did you come in on the bus, or did your parents drive you? And what were your first impressions of them?
It was a whole different scene for me, the scenery, a different kind of landscape than what I was used to. I wasn't that impressed. But I got used to it. It was all, a new experience for me, and it was just all new. So
did they bring you up? Did your parents?
My parent, yeah, my
okay.
dad. My dad brought me, drove me over, and that's when I started going to IAIA.
So did you know what? Did they allow you to have a focus at that point? That first year. What was the program?
I was in high school, so it was, you get your regular curriculum, your basics, English, math, and social studies, and then classes on Native culture, and it was called Indian Aesthetics at the time, and some art classes, yeah.
Who taught the Indian Aesthetics class?
It was a team taught class, so all the Native instructors that were teaching, Adelie Loloma, Charles Loloma, Alan Hauser, all the Native instructors that were here taught, they team taught, they talked about their culture and how they use their culture to make their artwork. Lloyd knew, and so it was good.
Great combination.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite?
I don't know, because they were all good. It was just interesting to learn all that, and then because the students came from all over the United States, it was learning everyone's tribal affiliations and their culture, and that's what was really exciting too.
Right, because the students brought a lot to the table in terms of what your intertribal knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Had you been doing Native subject matter as a child, and then coming into this art program, how did that?
I basically did landscape drawings, like the yucca plants and the desert scenes.
Kind of realistic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But not so much any other Native designs, yeah.
So when did you first start taking painting or printmaking?
Okay, so it wasn't until I was studying the whole time in high school. I thought I wanted to be a commercial artist. That's what they called it at the time.
I saw that, so they had that track for you.
So that's where I was kind of leaning towards commercial art, like lettering and illustration. And not on the computer because we didn't have computers.
Right, and using a realistic approach to drawing. And
so a lot of drawing classes and it wasn't until my senior year of high school my advisor was Jim McGrath, and he said he said to me, I think you should try painting. Your work is tending, I think you should try painting. It leans towards the fine arts. So I said, okay. So that's when I started painting my last year of high school.
Okay. And were you working with what medium? Were you working with acrylics or oils? Oils, okay.
Yeah. So at that time...
What did you like about painting?
The freedom that you could just make anything, paint anything. It wasn't real strict, and again, in the studio, we were all learning from each other. So, just kind of watching what everyone else did, I would try that technique.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of experimenting, collaging, and painting, and so a lot of abstract type paintings.
Who were some of your studio classmates that we might recognize?
So we were all in a classroom together. We had like little cubby sections that we would, we were assigned to work in. Kevin Red Star, Hank Goben, Phyllis Fife, Rowena Dickerson, Earl Eder, Earl Bess. Those are my classmates. I mean, there was more, but those are the ones that I can remember. Yeah.
Great slate of artists too. So you're painting. You started painting, and then I think McGrath talked to you a bit about going to California.
Yeah. So my last year of high school was painting, and then he suggested that I continue on and get my BFA at a fine art school. So he suggested Chicago or San Francisco. And when I talked it over with my parents, my mom, said San Francisco was closer. So that's where I applied, and I was accepted. So I got scholarships to go to the Art Institute in San Francisco.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and you knew California a little bit, sort of.
Yeah, but when we grew up and, when we were in California before, we were in Southern California, that's totally different from Northern San Francisco Bay Area. That's all different.
And a hotbed of activism too, right?
Yeah.
So when you got to, is it called SFA, San Francisco Art Institute?
SFAI,
SFAI. Yeah. What major, did you have to declare a major right away? How did that work?
You had to declare a major, but you still had to take, courses that were 2D and 3D courses, yeah.
Right.
So I was declared painting as my major, but I had to take like ceramics and sculpture and other classes.
Were there some other Native students in your class?
Oh yeah, there was a bunch of us that went out at that time. Again, we just kind of all like stuck together. Hank Goben and Earl Biss, Earl Eder, Kevin Red Star, Jim St. Martin, and Carol Frazier and another Navajo woman. They were out. They had gone ahead of us, so they were already in San
Oh,
Francisco.
that's nice.
Yeah. So knowing that, those, excuse me, knowing that I had those people to look up to or hang out with, that's what kept me going or staying in school, because I had a group a cohort group to keep me going, to keep me
Right.
in school. Yeah.
Right. That support system.
That support system. Yeah.
How about community? Some of the activists movements or community engagement, where you guys, did you have time to get
I
involved?
felt like I didn't have time because I was in school. So, Alcatraz, takeover of Alcatraz started up, and I saw that as, it was important for that to happen. But again, I felt like I was in school. My money was coming from the government. I had the government scholarship to attend school, so I thought I better just go to school and not, do the activism part.
Right.
And I did support it by doing, putting my work into art shows that supported the Alcatraz movement and the Wounded Knee movement that came after that.
Cool. So were those some of the first galleries also that you ended up dealing with? Was out there in San Francisco?
Yes.
Okay. What was an important early gallery?
Again, when because we're all in a group together, we were already getting invited to be in shows like in Washington, D.C. We'd send our artwork out for different shows out there, and selling the work, which was, it wasn't, they didn't want us to sell our work, when you're in school.
Right.
They didn't want you to paint to
Right.
sell. It was,
Although did you?
Huh?
Although did you?
Yes, we
Yes.
did. Because we had to, buy supplies, and it was, it was an incentive to paint and sell, but I didn't sell a lot, but
But at that level, then, when you're finally in college, then you have that freedom to
yeah.
really
And
go
then-
for it.
And then there was this organization called American Indian Historical Society. It was a really small organization run by Rupert Garcia, who was Cahuilla, California Indian, and his wife, Jeanette. And they started, this is in San Francisco, they started inviting us to be in shows in their center. So we would have shows up there. And that's when I first met R.C. Gorman, and was up with the Historical Society.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What were your first impressions of him?
Well, he actually came, and it was, my first exposure to being at an opening, and I didn't know what to do or anything. So, he did come up to me and said, "You need to get out there and talk to the people," because I was so shy. I was really shy. "You need to get out there and talk to the people." So I remember that about him.
He was a good encourager, I felt that way.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of like printmaking, monoprints and things like that, did you get your background at the Institute, or was it at SFAI?
At the Art Institute, like I said, you had to study all the different disciplines of fine art. So I did take a lithography class where you have to grind the stone and prepare it, and it's a whole process. And I really enjoyed that. I really got into that. But I never thought, this was going to be my field that I was going to go into. I enjoyed doing that and producing prints or making prints, but like I said, I never thought that was going to be my. I just thought I was a painter. So, but I did have that experience.
So after you finished and you got your BFA,
Mm-hmm.
then what happened?
Oh, then I applied for the master's program, and I was accepted and stayed on for the master's program and finished there.
Now, is that when you began to explore printmaking a little more?
No, that wasn't until I
Not
came
yet.
back to. So after I got my master's degree, then I started teaching right away. My first job was at California State College up in Sonoma
Mm-hmm.
at Roanoke Park, and so I taught 2 years there in the Native American Studies program. And then after that, it was a commute. It was quite a ways. It took an hour and a half, I think, to get there. And then after that, I taught 2 years at Berkeley, UC Berkeley,
Mm-hmm.
the Native American Studies program.
And the Native Studies program.
Yeah.
So you're still painting on the side while you're doing this?
Yeah.
In oils?
Yeah. No. I switched to acrylics
You
because
switched to acrylics.
when I started having kids, and it's harder. Paint dries faster with acrylics. So,
Right.
So I switched to acrylics and a smaller scale. So
Okay.
because I had to have it on a tabletop, it was easier to paint acrylics than on the easel with oils.
Right. Now, were you raising your family also when you got your master's degree, or was
Mhm.
it okay?
Yeah.
And so you've changed to acrylics. Have you changed your style or approach at all? Are you still painting sort of abstract or?
I call it abstract, but they're
Stylistically.
stylistic. Yeah.
Okay.
So, so the whole time I'm, exhibiting, showing my work, selling the work, and teaching as well, and have, been in different group shows.
Right. But not really consciously using any Hopi imagery yet, or?
Well, I thinking Hopi, that's what I was doing with my
Okay.
abstract form,
Okay.
I think the only thing that was really noticeable would be like corn, I
Mm-hmm.
paint corn and then an abstract background and
Right.
A few designs from the different kachinas that,
Mhm.
I paint my abstract way.
Right. And what did you, teaching in the Native Studies field, are you kind of focusing on Native art, or are you just teaching Native Studies kind of in general?
Well, at Cal State Sonoma, it was Native Studies. I
Mhm.
was teaching about like Southwest art and what I knew.
Okay.
And then at Berkeley, it was actually a studio class, so it was a painting
Okay.
class, and I had Native students that
Yeah.
attended. And Jean Lamar was one of them. She was really good.
Oh, cool. Sometimes when you're teaching, you actually learn some things, or you have this opportunity to, it changes. Did it impact your art in any way?
It has throughout the years. It has, but I can't say anything in particular. But through all the years of teaching and being around all the Native students and where they come from, you get influenced by things that they say or a symbol that they use maybe, and sometimes some of it is a universal symbol. So in that way, it's impacted me. Yeah.
What was an early award that you got that was important to you, or honor?
I think one that comes to mind is when I moved back to Santa Fe and was teaching here at the Institute, that I started showing at the Indian market, and one year I got the Helen Hardin Award, and I was really pleased with that because that's, she's one of my
Yes.
as well.
Yes, that was a really
Yeah.
prestigious award. She
Yeah.
was such a good painter. It must have been really an amazing experience to come back where you went to school.
So when I was in San Francisco at Berkeley, that's when they started coming out to recruit me to come back to Santa Fe to teach, and I eventually came back.
Who came out?
Hank Gobin and
Okay.
Manuelita Lovato,
Uh-huh.
they came out and visited me in San Francisco, and said they wanted me to come back to teach, and it took about a year to think about it, and I finally did and moved back. So.
And by then, how many? Do you have two daughters or?
I have a daughter and a son.
A daughter and a son.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you had both your kids.
Yeah.
That were going to have to be moved.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'll have to move back.
Leave California.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons for that, one of the decisions to move back also was I wanted my kids to learn about their culture from here,
Mm-hmm.
the Southwest, and in New Mexico is closer to Hopi than San Francisco is, so, or Santa Fe is closer to Arizona than San Francisco was, so.
Right.
I wanted them to know their Hopi culture, and it was important to me that they learned that.
Right. When did you really start getting serious about your printmaking then?
Okay, so teaching takes a lot out of you. It takes your creativity, I think. And for a while there, I kind of slowed down in my painting because it was just, I didn't have much time. So you have to prepare for classes, and, raising your family and everything. It started getting harder for me. So I kind of slowed down, and some of my friends were getting worried that, oh no, she's going to stop doing her artwork. So my friend Craig Locklear was teaching printmaking at the time, and he said, why don't you come in and try Monotypes? He goes, I'll show you how to do that. So because it's like instant painting. So I said, okay. So this is like the late 80s. I said, okay. So I can't remember if it was during a class time or after, but he showed me how to do Monotypes, and I just took off from there. I just really enjoy doing Monotypes. So it is like a quick...
So can you explain for the
okay,
readers?
so Monotype is like, to me, almost like instant painting. And you can see the result when you roll your paper through the press, when the ink gets... You paint on a plexiglass plate with oil-based inks we were using at the time, or I still use oil-based inks. And then you soak your paper and blot it out, and then put it on the press, lay the paper down, and then run it through a press, and so the impression gets onto the paper, and it's like an instant piece of artwork.
And it's original.
Because, you can run it again and take off what's ever left on the plate. That's called a ghost print, but it's not the same as the first pull.
Right.
So, and then you can manipulate and add on and you rework the plate and print over, but it's always one image that you print at a time, so that's why it's called a monoprint. So it's just one print at a time.
So that was a way that you could keep working, kind of, even though, like you said, you don't have a lot of energy, but you were able to
at least do printmaking, to do monoprints. So that was fun, and I enjoyed it, and I could do more monoprints, and I could finish an acrylic painting. So.
And you've done a lot of series. That's one thing that you've been known for, different print series.
Uh-huh.
What do you like about working in series?
In terms of people wanting to have a part of that series, I think is why I did the series.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, once I print an image and I like it, then I want to do it again. So then it becomes a series. So even though there's different variations of it, the title, it just becomes a series. And
there's more to explore. There's
yeah,
more.
yeah. So I just like doing it in series.
What's do you think has been one of the more important series that you've, or maybe one that you enjoyed more than some of the others?
I can't really say. I think one important one was this series I did of it. I called it the Journey series, but it's about the migration path of the Hopi people and the colors of the four directions. So that was like an important series for me to do.
When did you do that one? Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, like early 2000, no, late 1990s, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned, talking with other people, that your associations with shapes and colors sometimes come from ceremonies or landscapes, and another inspiration has sometimes been ancient kiva paintings and petroglyphs. How do you explain the power of these images that just really can reach across cultures and transcend time and space?
To me, they're really powerful. When I look at petroglyphs, it's like something that was done a long time ago, but it looks still today very abstract. And the pictures of the Kiva mural, from the Kiva mural ruins, they're telling a story, or it talks about a ceremony, which I don't know. Because each Kiva has a different way that they do things, and those societies, as women, we're not, privy to. So, but the images are strong. So I pick out images that I like and use those images. And I started looking at books on Hopi, and when I saw the images from one of the ruins from the village that was destroyed during the Pueblo Revolt, to me, that I thought that was important to talk about that part of history, and the beauty of the painting that was left on the kiva that a lot of Hopis still use today in their artwork.
And although, you've had this kind of peripatetic upbringing where you've lived in these many different parts of the country, a lot of your inspiration, seems to depend on that really physical, spiritual sense of place.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because Hopis are really, not to say that other cultures are, but is really strong, and they're, continual ceremonies that take place, the yearly ceremonies that take place, that I'm able to, I live close enough to go out to Hopi for those major ceremonies, and to go out there to watch the ceremonies and help at the house, and it just grounds me when I go out to see those ceremonies.
Right. Have you ever done any collaborations with artists?
Yeah, I collaborated with Harry Fonseca. We did some paintings together.
Was it a series or?
We did like several paintings of some of the Kiva murals. I guess this is where I'm going to have to insert the name of the. It's one of the ruins from here in New Mexico.
Okay.
And I can't think of the name of the site right now, but
yeah, we can add it in.
I'll add it in later. We did some images from that that area, and to me it looked close enough to Hopi that I like doing that collaboration.
Right.
And we just had fun, painting the imageries.
Right.
Who else have I collaborated? I did one of the collaboration pieces that's here in the IA Museum collection is a collaboration piece that I did with Delia Velasco, who was one of my students, and we did 7 large canvases that makes one whole mural that are here in the collection.
Oh, neat.
And that was a really good collaboration that we did. I did paint with my brother, did some collaboration pieces with my brother. Not all the time, but we did.
Right.
We experimented doing some paintings together.
And he likes to do collaborations.
Yeah. So I can't. That's all I can think of right now.
The collaboration with your student. How did you kind of divide tasks?
Well, we had to come up with the schematic scheme first, the cartoon, and I wanted to do something that again, we used imagery from the Kiva murals, and Delia is Tona Atam and Navajo, and she saw similarities in like the figures, the plants from where she's from in southern Arizona. So we were able to just work together to. It just worked. It just.
Yeah.
And then she added in the plant life from the Sonoran Desert area. So it just all worked really well. The colors and movement in the paintings,
Oh, neat. How did you approach the business side? Like, how did you know how to price your work?
That one.
What were some of the challenges?
That one it's always still hard for me to do that because I didn't take any business classes, and so it was just like learning everything the hard way, dealing with people and galleries, and I just kind of looked at what other people were doing and selling their work for, and just try to be reasonable in my prices and not be overpriced, or you know what I mean. The hard part is keeping up with everything.
Right. And you've continued to have a booth at Santa Fe Indian Market?
Yes.
For all these years?
Yeah,
so.
for at least, I would have to say 30, 35 years.
Oh, wow. So you've seen a lot of changes in the market.
The changes with Santa Fe Indian Market and changes with IAIA. I mean,
yes.
but you just kind of like grow with it and learn, from those changes, how it all works together.
Right. You know, the campus is so beautiful, and it looks like they're getting ready for some new construction, but I know that there's been some, you know, it hasn't been easy financially for the school this last few years.
Yeah, so you know, it's always continually fundraising for the campus and scholarships for the students. So it's always a struggle to keep up with the finances.
Do you feel like, because I know just from being with going to shows with my husband that, you know, after 9/11 basically things got really hard for a number of years.
It
Do you
did.
feel like Native art is kind of, the markets are kind of coming back, or?
I feel like it is. It's real slow. I mean, I think for painters it is. I have to speak for myself. But for other artists, like, you know, the jewelers and the potters, and they seem to be able to.
That 3Ds, they've been doing
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yes, it's been harder for painters, I think.
Well, your retirement is like so new. Like you said, you're looking forward to doing more artwork, but you know, after you kind of get into a routine, etc., is there a certain kind of project that you are thinking about, kind of mulling over?
I wanted to get back to talking about subject matter in my work, and doing the Hopi Southwest subject matter. The whole time in the back of my mind, I always thought of how do I incorporate my mother's culture into the work. And it wasn't until my daughter, who is the collections manager here at the school, curated a show, which was an exhibit about Choctaw artists. So I was included, and but I didn't have anything Choctaw, so or specifically that, you know, spoke to Choctaw. So on my first sabbatical break, which was this semester, that was in 2005, I think it was, I was going to do some research on Choctaws and figure out how I was going to produce or do some paintings about Choctaw. But during that time, my brother passed away, and I wasn't able to, finish doing that research. So all I had to do was be able to look through books and try to find pictures that I could use to create some work, and that's what I went by. And on my second sabbatical, this was 6 or 7 years later, I wanted to go on a Mound research trip. So that was my plan for the second time on sabbatical. So I asked America Meredith to if she wanted to go on a Mound research trip with me, and she said sure. So, you know, the Cherokee people are from the Mound culture, so that's what we did on my second sabbatical. That was, what year was that? 2010, I think. 2010 or 2011. And so we started out with Spiral Mound in Oklahoma, and went all the way to Cherokee, North Carolina, which is her homeland. We were calling it our Mother Mound sites. So from Spiral, we went to all the southern states across the United States.
That's quite a, yeah.
And of course, I had to go to Mississippi Choctaw to see the Mother Mound site there, and then on over to North Carolina. That was an incredible trip. Took a lot of pictures, and I always feel like I have to go to a place that I'm talking about to be able to, for it, to, I guess, to speak to me. That's the only way I can think of, so I can, create something. So that was important to go on that Mound research trip. So I've been doing, since then, more of southeastern designs and landscapes in my work. And I'm trying to figure out a way to make the two work together, the Hopi and the Southeast. And it is, I think it is, because working together, because like, I said before, there are some universal symbols that we use, like for the 4 directions, or maybe water symbols. So I just don't want it to make it look like one way or the other.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out how to make that work.
That's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
And primarily, in terms of printmaking or painting, or both?
Both.
It's
Both, yeah.
starting to surface in both media.
Yeah.
All those media.
Because I used when I did the work for the Choctaw show that.
Was that here?
It was here, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The show was called Voices from the Mound.
Okay.
And again, like I said, I could only go by what I could find in books.
Mm-hmm.
So I did designs of the bandolier sash that the men wear, and this kind of spiral symbol, and the diamonds that the Choctaws use in the beadwork and basketry.
Mm-hmm.
So then I used photographs. So I transferred photographs into the prints, and then shapes of the mound, different mounds into the work as well.
Oh, that sounds really neat.
Yeah.
You have been doing a lot of judging, I think, or have over the years, and some artists like judging art competitions and some don't care for it. What are the challenges and what are the rewards of that?
To me, the challenge is, because I've been in the field for all this time, that I know like who the artist is by even looking at the work, That's the hard part. Like, I don't want to let I guess emotions get in the way, but you can't help it.
Some of whom have been your students, probably.
Yeah. So that's the hard part. That's the challenge. That.
What are the good things about it?
I really enjoy looking at seeing what people are doing, coming up with their new ideas, and seeing what's best of show. And it, it doesn't necessarily have to be. When I look at a piece of artwork, if it's for sale or anything, it's just like the best of what anyone could do. That's the part I like about looking at the work.
I wanted to talk a little bit more just about your process, and I think you've talked nicely about the monotypes and the changes in painting. You do, is it called China collage or Sheen collage or something?
Oh, chicolé.
Yeah, chicolé. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Can you explain what that is, and are you still doing some of that or
Yes,
not?
yeah,
Okay.
I'm still doing that, yeah. So chicolé is, it's a French term in printmaking that translates to Chinese pasting.
Okay.
So Shin is Chinese and collé is to paste. So yeah, Shin collé is, you can do papers, photographs, anything that's flat pretty much. You can Shin collé onto a piece of paper and then run it through the press. So it's
you're getting those textures as well
textures,
as the colors.
yeah, layers, and it can be done all at once. So that's what I like about Chick-fil-A.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's going to work nicely for that confluence of tribal heritage too.
Yeah.
So what portion of your work now, and I realize that you haven't been able to dig into it full time again yet, but what portion do you think is printing and what portion is painting?
There's been a couple of pieces that I've done where I paint the canvas first, and then I've collaged the prints on top of that. So to me, at least, getting that painting, the background painting done, whether it was just one color field.
Right.
And one piece in particular that I'm thinking of that I did where I painted the background, then I collaged the prints onto that, then I painted on top of that to incorporate it all together, blend it all together.
Oh, that sounds
So
really neat.
integrated, yeah.
Really kind of a multimedia.
And I'm saving that piece for a show that will be coming up, the women's group show.
Okay.
I think that's starting in Minneapolis, I'm not sure. I'm saving that one for that piece.
For that show. And it'll be traveling.
Yeah, it'll be traveling.
Yeah. It'll be traveling. Are you interested in any digital drawing programs or not?
Not right now, yeah. When I have more time.
What's your process for coming up with titles?
Oh, that's always hard for me. A lot of times when I'm working, I'll think of an idea, a name, or just what I'm trying to, say in my work at the time. But then when it comes at the end to title it, I'll either use that word or come up with a whole different thought of what I was trying to do, So
Right.
I always have a hard time with titles.
Yeah, there are a lot of artists do. What's your creative process from the time you get an idea?
I have to clear off the table so I can work. I used to have to wash my dishes. and one time I was thinking, why do I have to wash the dishes? And I thought about it, I go, I have to clean the sink out so I can rinse my paints in it.
You hadn't made that conscious association?
I had before, but so that all has to be cleaned. My table has to be cleared off, and
then will you do any preliminary sketching or not?
I do a lot of sketches and write down ideas, writing as well as drawing them out.
Keeping a little notebook.
Yeah, keeping a notebook. So I have like a lot of little sketchbooks that I work with.
Cool. So what's your creative routine? Do you like to work during the day or at night?
In the morning, that's my best time. The light source here is the best in the morning. Really crisp, clean, clear, bright. That's my best time, is in the morning.
Well, looking back at your career so far, what do you think has been a pivotal moment when you could have taken one fork in the road and you went this other way?
I've been doing art my whole life, or I think I have. So it just seems like that's been my whole life, doing art. What would I have done if I didn't have art in my life? I have no idea. So it's always been a part of me. Which way would I go? What other thing could I do? Then there are times when I think, what if I just didn't do any art at all anymore? What would that be like? And I can't imagine, because it's always been a part of me.
What do you think has been one of the high points of your career so far?
I think it's yet to come.
think it is too. I'm really looking forward to some of the work that you've been describing. What was one of the low points of your career?
I think when I started to slow down and not be able to do my artwork, that's been like a low point for me. So I'm glad that my friends, were able to encourage me to at least, start with the printmaking and
Right.
to keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we're going to look at some examples of your work, and then we're going to look at a gallery presentation of some of your black and white drawings, I think.
I can't think of anything right now, but I think after I read the interview, I might be able to add something then, or say, I meant to say this.
That'll be fun. Well, we'll just pause at a moment so you can grab those pieces, and we'll show those, the ones that you brought. Okay, so Linda, you want to tell us about this piece?
Okay, this piece is titled Four Rivers Number 2, and it's a series. And it's I'm talking about it's a migration story of the Hopi people. My grandfather said that the Hopi people, during the migration journey of where we were going to end up at, we had to cross 4 rivers. The Hopi people had to cross 4 rivers. And so this is my interpretation of crossing, abstract version of 4 rivers.
Right, yeah,
So,
I love the colors and the movement. And it's a monoprint.
It's a monoprint, yeah.
Okay. All right, how about this piece?
Okay, this piece is entitled Ancestral Gulf Birds. And it was my my take on the Gulf oil spill. And how they kept showing on the news like these birds, drenched in oil, and so this is my interpretation of my homage to the Gulf birds and what was going on at the time. So because it happened in this eastern part of the United States, I incorporated my southeastern design in there.
Yes.
That tells where this happened.
Right.
So.
And it looks like the bird has something on that he's caught.
That is,
also.
carrying something. But
carrying
yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's
So
really
that's
powerful piece. Yeah. And how about this?
This is the plume. I call it the Plume Serpent.
Right.
It's comes from the southeast.
Yes.
It's taken from a southeast pottery design. But the Hopi also have a plume serpent. We believe that plume serpent lives in the water and protects the water. And the story is that whenever the plume serpent surfaces, then that's a sign for the end of the world. So, but that's what that.
And it looks like you've done the plume serpent with paint. So if you paint
This is all again monotype.
It's all monotype.
And the plume serpent is actually it's a stencil.
Stencil, okay.
Inked the stencil and printed it on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was monotype background. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the shape and the color. All right. Well, thank you for your time, Linda, and we'll move on to the gallery quickly.
Okay.
All right, we're here in the special gallery room, and you want to tell us about the source of these images?
Okay, these are all, this exhibition is about work that I was doing while I was in San Francisco as a student, and I would be constantly just drawing in my sketchbook. So these are all a result of ideas that I would draw out with color pens and pencil and ink and just ideas. So that's what this whole exhibition is about.
And they're wonderful because they just stand on their own too. It's a wonderful range of kind of whimsy and yeah.
So I did a lot of fine line work in some of these smaller ones. I just like working with those different kinds of pens, you know, that you can just do detail with fine lines.
Right. How long has this show been up, Linda?
It's been up since May, the end of the school year, right during graduation time. So I was honored with an honorary doctorate degree at graduation. So
How cool.
so this exhibit was put up kind of like in during that time.
Right. Okay, and now we're looking at some other images.
Yeah, so these are all just basically pen and ink drawings, black and white, and the only type of color that would have been added is the I think silver ink added to that area there. But in this particular case, these two images, I did make prints out of them. So we did silk screen prints out of these two images.
Oh, how neat.
So that's what I forgot to mention, because in high school I did take fabric printmaking silk screen.
Okay.
So that was kind of like an introduction.
With Lloyd Kivanu?
Yes.
Was he teaching
yes,
that?
he was my teacher, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, these are all wonderful, and you mentioned that you've been awarded an honorary
Doctorate degree, yes.
Yes, here. So
In humanities, so that's an honor to
that's
me.
a very special honor. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Okay, thank you.